All right, questions open for senior center Drew Dahlman. Please use the raise hand function in the participants tab. We'll start with Scott Reese from Stanford Radio. Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, Drew. I asked Malik about this with regard to Paulson Adebo, but I can ask you the same question with regard to Walker. You know, when a player of that caliber who's been such a staple on the O-line opts out, you know, what does that mean for the group as a whole? How have you guys sort of rallied and that next man up mentality? And I know Walter played a lot last year, but just your take on sort of replacing somebody who's really hard to replace.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to hear Malik's answer, so I'm probably going to copy and paste that one a little bit.
There you go.
But yeah, obviously an incredible player. I learned a ton from him. All the tackles learned a ton from him. So he has things that you can't replace, just one-to-one. But as you brought up, Walter got the chance to play 10 or 11 games last year and got the chance to learn from Walker for 10 or 11 weeks. So, that's pretty invaluable information. I think we're more than confident in throwing Walter in there and feeling like we're not really skipping a step. But yeah, you are right. Walker's a special player, so it's not someone you're going to replace right away, but we feel great about Walter.
Our next question will come from Rusty Simmons with the San Francisco Chronicle. Go ahead, Rusty.
Yeah, I was just going to ask a general football question. Finally, week 1 is here for you guys. How are you feeling going into this and your first game after – for so long, it seemed like this wasn't going to happen?
Yeah, you're definitely right. I think the overwhelming emotion is excitement. We had something that we were thinking was going to happen and then had it taken away, and then now we're back to it. So I think we're all excited as a team to get back on the grass, but as an offensive line, I think even more excited after last year. We had some freshmen that kind of got a taste of it, and we definitely weren't happy with how we performed. So I think we're excited that we have a season and excited to really prove ourselves and show what kind of unit we can be.
And Stanford in general has often been defined by their offensive line. Does that mean something to you to get back to that, to have that running game, to have the offensive line kind of be the culture of the team?
Yeah, definitely. It's something I personally take a ton of pride in, as me and Foster being some of the older guys in the room, and in knowing that all those guys that came before us and the tradition they set, we want to uphold that standard and really put on a show like those past offensive lines have done. And we even met with some of them in the off season to really learn like what made them tick, how they produce those like great offensive lines. And we want to put forth that this year. So I think I'm really excited about the group that we're going to put out there and really show everybody what we can do.
Thanks so much.
Our next question will come from RJ Abadia with the Bootleg. Go ahead, RJ.
Hey, Drew, I'm just curious, looking back at last year's game against Oregon, what stands out as far as the things their defense did really well, and what stands out as things you think you guys have improved the most at since then?
Yeah. Looking back at it, what they showed us was what they gave us. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of mix-ups or anything like that. They pretty much played the same front the whole game. So I think for us, it really comes down to they're going to show us what they're going to do, and we got to execute and beat them one-on-one and whatever it may be. So it really excites me that we're going to have a team that's going to stay and play and really enjoy those matchups and get to kind of grind on them a little bit. So I'm really looking forward to that. They were a good defense last year. I'm sure it'll be a good defense this year, but I think we're bringing a lot more experience, and I'm really looking forward to how we perform.
And then follow up, we talk about mastery of the offense always in terms of the quarterbacks, but I'm curious, how confident and how comfortable are you making the calls that you have to make, and how is the communication level? How would you evaluate it at this point on the offensive line?
Yeah. Now that you're under my belt, I think I'm growing more and more comfortable. There's certainly always more to learn. I'm learning new stuff every day as far as how I can most efficiently make all the calls that I need to make and identify the things I need to identify. So never quite satisfied there, but the communication overall on the offensive line has been great. Early in camp, it's always tough. You're kind of shuffling guys around and figuring things out, but couple weeks in and going into game week, I feel really good. I feel like we're really gelling as a unit, and that communication is coming fast and it's coming easier. So those young guys have really benefited from last year in the off season. So I think we're in a good place communication wise.
Thanks.
Our next question will come from Jacob Rayburn with the Cardinal Sports Report. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, Drew. Wondering about your assessment of Branson Bragg. You know, he obviously showed promise last season, suffered a really gruesome injury. He actually tried to play a snap after suffering it, if I remember correctly. What have you seen from him in camp? Where is he right now? What do you like?
Yeah, Branson's awesome, both on and off the field. He's been a guy that, like you said, after the injury, really worked and got back and took advantage of his offseason and really improved in the weight room. So I think that's been showing. That's been a big thing, and just his confidence grows more and more every day, and he plays better as a result of it. So I'm really looking forward to playing next to him. I think he's a great offensive lineman, and he's only going to get better. So I think as this year goes on, we're going to see more and more that he's going to be one of those great Stanford guards.
One more individual follow-up with Drake Nugent. Heard some good things about his progress in camp. I know he's gotten bigger, pretty much like everyone has up front, but there's more to that, I'm sure. What have you seen from Drake? What are some of the specifics that he's gotten better at doing?
Yeah, another guy that took huge advantage of the weight room over the offseason, and really has made a point of getting the mental side correct. He's playing center and guard right now, and he's really picking that stuff up fast. He's making the calls. He's helping other guys make their calls. So he's in a good spot, both physically and mentally, to plug him in wherever that may be. But yeah, great guy to play with, great guy to have on the O-line, and it's really been a privilege to get to play with him.
And my last thing, on offense, there's been understandably a lot of conversation about the passing game. Where do you think the run game is right now? And, you know, how would you kind of evaluate its progress through camp of you guys getting that worked out?
Yeah, I definitely like where we're at right now. All off season, it's been a huge focus for us. We want to bring back those Stanford rushing teams where we're really running the rock. So I think that's been a big focus, and we feel like we're in a great spot. Definitely more balanced, ready to bring a few more things to the table. So I feel good about the run game, and we'll really see this Saturday.
Thanks, Drew.
Our next question will come from Rusty Simmons with the San Francisco Chronicle. Go ahead, Rusty.
Drew, I was going to ask about Autzen Stadium. I know the sound doesn't escape from there normally. How are you guys approaching this? We don't know exactly how many fans will be there, what the PA system will be like. How do you approach it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're preparing as we normally would. If it gets loud, we got answers, and if it's not loud, then we'll be fine with using our normal techniques. So yeah, we're ready either way. Not sure exactly what we're going to get, but we feel good about it.
And then I was going to ask you a big picture question about the election tomorrow. What are you telling your teammates? What are you telling the community as you guys approach tomorrow, a big day?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, incredibly influential election. And I think Malik said this as well, but it's really been about telling guys and making them aware of the power they do have with the vote, with whatever it may be, their civic involvement. But yeah, not a whole lot of propaganda by any means, or trying to sway guys either way. Just more encouraging them to educate themselves and feel like they're in a good place on those topics that they're voting on. So the whole team, the players, the staff, the university has made a huge point to really exercise that tomorrow, if not before, with the mail and stuff. So I think we're in a good spot with the education on it, and it's just about guys showing up for it.
Good stuff. Thanks so much.
We have time for one more question, so we're going to finish with Scott Reese. Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, Drew, Jacob mentioned some of the offensive linemen putting on the weight in the offseason. I tell you, you look at the roster, And some of the defensive linemen seem to have really bulked up, and guys like Booker and Picola. And I'm just wondering, since you go against these guys, in practice every day, what has jumped out to you about sort of the D line and the different look, and how does it feel going against these guys as opposed to last year?
Yeah, I mean, the big phrase that everybody says out there is iron sharpens iron. So it's been great that we got some bigger guys, they got some bigger guys, and we've been giving each other great looks. So it's definitely good prepping us for those like big interior D linemen that we're going to see. And I think they've really benefited from it. The guys like Picola and Booker, who maybe weren't as heavy in the past, now playing with that new strength and weight, they're definitely making plays. And I think it's been good for them, and it's been good for the O-line as well.
Is there anybody who's you've gone up against in these first couple of weeks who really took you back? Like, whoa, that is not the same dude I played against last year.
I'm gonna keep that one to myself. Just from
Fair enough.
All right, thank you, Drew. In just a short minute, we'll be joined by fifth-year inside linebacker Curtis Robinson.